Hey, what's up everyone? Today I'm putting the MacBook Air M4 with 24 gigabytes of RAM and a 512 gigabyte SSD through its paces to answer one big question. Can this sleek little laptop handle Blender, the 3D powerhouse? I'm talking modeling, rendering, and everything in between. I've got 3 tests lined up to push this machine to its limits, so grab a snack, settle in, and let's see what this MacBook Air can do. For the first test, I decided to start simple with Blender's classic mascot, the Suzanne monkey model. If you've used Blender, you know Suzanne. She's like the unofficial queen of 3D stress tests. My plan? Subdivide her over and over to see how many polygons this MacBook Air can juggle before it starts sweating. I'm using Blender with the Metal API, by the way, to take full advantage of the M4's GPU, and I've got all the hardware acceleration options maxed out for peak performance. First subdivision. Suzanne's at about 4,000 polygons. Honestly, it's like the MacBook Air didn't even notice. I'm rotating, zooming, and panning in the viewport, and it's silky smooth, like I'm just moving a basic cube. No big deal. Second subdivision bumps her up to around 15,500 polygons. Still no challenge. The viewport's responsive, and I'm thinking, this is too easy. Third subdivision, 62,000 polygons. I'm zooming in, spinning the model around, and it's still buttery smooth. This MacBook's just chilling. Fourth subdivision takes us to 250,000 polygons, and I'm expecting some lag, but nope, still no issues. I can manipulate the model like it's nothing. Feeling bold, I go for the fifth subdivision, hitting 1 million polygons. And you know what? The MacBook Air M4 doesn't even flinch. I'm zooming, rotating, everything's snappy. Okay, let's keep going. Sixth subdivision, 4 million polygons. Still no problems. The viewport's holding strong, no stuttering, no slowdown. I'm impressed, but I'm not done yet. Seventh subdivision, 16 million polygons. Now things are getting interesting. Rotating and zooming start to feel a bit sluggish. Not terrible, but you can tell the system's working harder. I decide to push it one last time, aiming for 60 million polygons. And that's where the MacBook Air finally says, enough. Blender freezes and I have to force quit. But let's be real. 16 million polygons before any noticeable slowdown? That's wild for a fanless ultrabook. All right, let's switch gears for test number 2. I'm loading up Blender's 3.5 splash demo, which is a way more complex scene. This one's packing about 3 million polygons, over 2,000 objects, and some seriously beefy shaders with nearly 10 nodes each. It's the kind of scene that make a lesser laptop beg for mercy. With the Metal API and hardware acceleration still cranked up, I start navigating the viewport. And wow, it's smooth. I'm panning, zooming, and editing objects, and the MacBook Air handles it like a pro. No stuttering, no lag, just clean, responsive performance. I decide to render a single frame to see how it holds up. Using the Eevee engine, it takes just 16 seconds per frame. That's crazy fast for a scene this detailed. Then I switch to Cycles, which is more demanding because of its physically based rendering. It takes 27 seconds per frame, still really impressive for a laptop this thin and light. Honestly, editing and rendering this scene felt like a breeze, and I'm starting to see why the M4 chip is such a big deal. Now for the final test, I'm diving into Blender's 4.3 splash demo. This one's a bit different. It's lighter on raw polygon count, only about 27,000 polygons across 239 objects. But don't let that fool you. This scene is heavy thanks to complex geometry nodes, simulation nodes, and some seriously intricate shaders. It's the kind of setup that can choke even powerful machines because of all the computational overhead. In the viewport, I noticed things aren't as smooth as before. Rotating and zooming feels a bit choppy, like the MacBook's working overtime to keep up with the node-heavy setup. I try rendering with cycles first, but for some reason, it just doesn't work. I'm not sure if it's a compatibility issue with the M4's Metal API or something else. Honestly, if you know what's going on here, drop a comment below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Anyway, I switch to Eevee, which is more forgiving, and render the full animation. Each frame takes about 1.86 seconds, and the entire animation, 250 frames, finishes in roughly 465 seconds, or just under 8 minutes. That's not bad at all for a scene this complex, especially on a laptop that's designed more for portability than raw rendering power. So what's the final verdict? The MacBook Air M4 with 24 gigabytes of RAM and a 512 gigabyte SSD is a surprisingly capable machine for Blender. It's not just keeping up. It's thriving in scenarios that would make most ultrabooks cry. It can handle scenes with millions of polygons, complex shaders, and thousands of objects without breaking a sweat, especially when using Eevee for real-time rendering. The Metal API and the M4 chip's GPU make viewport navigation and editing a joy for most projects, and even Cycles rendering is respectable for a machine this slim. That said, it's not perfect. Extremely high poly scenes like 60 million polygons will push it past its limits, and complex node-heavy setups like the 4.3 Splash demo can cause some viewport lag. Plus, that Cycles compatibility issue with the 4.3 demo is a bit of a head-scratcher. So, who's this MacBook Air for? If you're a student, hobbyist, or freelance 3D artist working on small to medium-sized Blender projects, think modeling, animation, or rendering with Eevee, this laptop is an absolute gem. It's lightweight, portable, and powerful enough to handle most of what you throw at it, whether you're working at a coffee shop or in a classroom. Even if you're dabbling in more complex scenes with a few million polygons or heavy shaders, it's got your back. But if you're a professional dealing with massive simulations, ultra-high poly models, or heavy Cycles rendering for production-level work, you might want to look at a MacBook Pro or a desktop with a dedicated GPU for that extra horsepower.